Meanwhile, for 2 days starting tomorrow, the spotlight will shine brightly on small and medium enterprises in Kenya during the 7th annual SME Conference, an expo that will be held at the Strathmore University in Nairobi. The theme of the conference will be the role of SMEs as engines of economic growth in Africa. Joining me now to take a deeper look at the state of SMEs in Kenya and how the conference intends to improve the performance of SMEs is Rosemary Okello, who is the Director of African Media Hub at Strathmore University. Thank you so much for joining me. How are you doing this evening?
I'm fine, and I'm glad to join you this evening.
I'm happy to have you here.
Yes.
Now we'll just jump right into trying to understand what are the objectives of this particular conference.
The objective of the conference is to actually leverage the SMEs platform so that they'll be able to be seen as the engine of growth in this continent, especially with the recently passed Africa cross-border trade, cross-border trade that was passed by the Africa Union, but also the e-commerce that is emerging. But most importantly, the fact that SME are the engine growth that has never been seen and never been actually appreciated for their contribution. We at Strathmore, in our 6th SME conference, actually helped them to develop a blueprint on based on the Agenda 4.
Right.
And this Agenda 4 being the health, agriculture, infrastructure, and housing is an area that SME has been playing a role for the longest time, and yet it has never been documented. For example, the small-scale farmer in the village makes sure the family doesn't go hungry. That one, they address the food insecurity, not only at the national level, but at the household level. With that SME input, when they go to the market and sell things, they're able to get income to be able to even take their children to school. And we're saying that unless we reposition SME in a digital economy, by actually leveraging through capacity building, we are going to miss a big sector in our society that has been holding this country economic agenda.
What would you say are some of the trends around SME businesses that you've observed in the last 6 SME conferences?
One of the things, actually the key question has been access to finance and also policy. Access to finance means that banks being able to give them credit and being able to actually build their capacity in financial management, but also being able to see that the SME can actually create a financial kind of leverage. But also capacity building means that being able to understand the market trends. So as Strathmore, as an academic institution, business school, we try to step down to where SMEs are. And we develop modular courses through our entrepreneurship center to be able to train the SMEs in financial management, in understanding the markets, but also in being able to reposition their product for scalability.
Okay, great. And would you say SMEs are really making a major contribution to Kenya's economy in terms of jobs, in terms of tax revenue, as well as income?
Exactly. Because when we talk of Juakali, when you talk about SMEs, the 3/4 of Kenya employment is under SMEs. If it's actually structured and accounted, you'll find that SME are the highest employment sector in this country. And this was actually evidenced by the KRA income, where we're saying that the KRA income is just 1/4 of the employees, around 13 million. We are 50 million. And 3/4 half of the Kenyans are actually at the employment age. Where are they? They are within the SME. And who are these SME? They are innovators. They are people who are being able to run business that can employ more than 5 people. There are also people who are able to manage business but doesn't know how to expand. Yes.
And most SMEs fall in the informal sector of the economy. What would it take for it to scale up? What would it take for them to scale up in the Kenyan SMEs to play their part in providing high-paying and quality jobs?
A lot of things. Looking at the policy framework of SME in terms of taxes, in terms of viability, in terms of the actually making sure that the framework and the ecosystem they work in is friendly to SMEs. And government coming up, apart from the blueprint that we develop at Strathmore, the government, especially inter-ministry, coming up with the SME framework guidelines on how they're going to help SME grow. Yes.
Okay, great. And as of course, a lot of individuals would like to attend the SME, it being the 7th annual conference and expo. So who's eligible to come for this conference? And is there a cost towards it?
All SMEs are welcome, especially if you feel because this is a platform where SMEs are going to network, showcase their work because there's an expo, but also learn new ideas on how they can enhance their business. They're going to meet with, there are many banks that are coming during the meeting to showcase the products they have for SMEs. So having such network is just not a small feat. So we only charge 5,000 for SMEs to come. But we also want to look at it not as an income, but as a networking platform, whereby once you come in, we are planning to have what we call SME competition in partnership with Eurobank Investment Bank, whereby we're going to have a competition for SMEs across the country. And this competition, we are going to have it in November.
Okay, so there are a lot of topics that are going to be discussed in this particular conference, and among of the topics that will be discussed is on enhancing the competitiveness of SMEs through innovation as well as value addition. So how can we achieve this given constraints that SMEs face, such as having access to capital or finance as well as markets that are right for them?
This kind of new discussion we're going on competitiveness is based on if you actually identify SMEs and build their capacity on the competitiveness value, which is not only based on the market trends, but also based on building value system SME structure in this country. And I'm glad Strathmore is having a course on competitiveness value that they are going to actually start rolling out and targeting not only SMEs, but also various sectors. And SMEs here, we're talking agribusiness, we are talking also other sectors. So it's not only small scale, but small scale that includes all areas of aspect, especially we are focusing on Agenda 4. Yes.
Okay, right. I'm happy you just mentioned the Agenda 4. I just want to go on that point and try to understand some of the opportunities you see SMEs will be able to exploit in the Agenda 4, in the big 4 agendas.
It's huge. My argument about the SMEs potential is that where markets are developed, that's where infrastructure starts building. So with the SMEs presence, there means that infrastructure will be viable. And where SMEs are, their human capability. That means housing will be enhanced. Where SMEs, there's human resource in a way that can be able to start questioning the health quality. And where SMEs are also education. What kind of education capability are we going to build? TVET, how is TVET going to come in to build actually a proper framework for SMEs? So, but at Strathmore University, we are saying that our role being that we service to the society, we are going down there to start actually having these modular courses. There's one modular courses for SME, the ownership course that we are partnering with the Lagos University that we train quarterly, and at the end of the year, they actually graduate. And there are many other courses. Apart from that, we have executive courses that SME can actually be able to enhance their capacity on.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much
for
that information. I do hope a lot of SMEs will